I'm Tom Franck. I created Comics and Comics, and I'm here at Hypnocomics, and we're doing a show tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, next comedian, founder of Comics and Comics, give it up for Tom Franck, you guys.
Thank you, Joe Starr.
We love this venue. It's not only a great crowd, enthusiastic crowd, but they're also very knowledgeable about all the geek content that we like to joke about. And, if you're doing a show about Star Trek, you got a bit about that. It's good if the people who are listening to you and assessing your humor have actually seen Star Trek.
I only found this out recently. Martin Luther King Jr., huge Star Trek fan. Yes, absolutely. Google that. That's the new version of comedians saying, true story. Google that. MLK loved, if he had lived another 5 years, he would have learned Klingon. That's how into it he was. And if I was a more industrious comedian, I would have learned I Have a Dream in Klingon, but I'm lazy. Didn't go that far. Actually, he, Nichelle Nichols, wanted to quit Star Trek after the first season. Fed up with William Shatner, he was just horrible to deal with. And Martin Luther King talked her out of it. Talked her into staying on. It was really important. He was just like, look, this is, a person of color who's fourth in command on the Enterprise. She didn't realize that. The chief communications officer was fourth in charge, and this is a really important thing. And it's easy now to sort of think, oh yeah, it was a black person on Star Trek. That wasn't, but in the 60s, that wasn't something that you should take for granted at all. It was really bold and incredibly forward-thinking on the part of Gene Roddenberry. That was completely by design. And, he's right. Racial diversity was and is the future. And that's something that, you should give Gene Roddenberry huge props to, and Martin Luther King recognized that. And, as advanced as Gene Roddenberry's thinking was in that, it just kills me, and looking at Star Trek now, is how equally certain he was that mini skirts were going to be around forever. Just stark contrast, and this ain't going nowhere. We're sticking with this.
It is not serious. There's lots of stuff to poke fun at, and geeks are confident enough in themselves to recognize that. We realize that a lot of the stereotypes do have some truth to them, and we're willing to own up to that and have a good time with it.
So I saw Saving Mr. Banks. Anyone see this? It's a big movie, and it's just weird. Anyone else think that it's weird? There's lots of movies, it's a long-running tradition of artists trying to keep their integrity and big corporation trying to make them sell out. A huge tradition of this, except this movie is taking the side of the corporation. You know what I mean? Isn't it sad when artists hold on to their ideals? And thank goodness, we have Walt Disney to talk them out of it. I think that Walt Disney is still alive and is still convincing people to sell out in some frozen cryostasis chamber. For Pixar Saving Buzz Lightyear, where frozen Walt Disney convinces George Lasseter that all Pixar should make is sequels. Or for the Power Rangers Saving Bulk and Skull, where frozen Walt Disney convinces Haim Saban that Zordon is really his father. That's what it's about. We should sell out. Or Saving Mr. Skywalker, where frozen Walt Disney says to George Lucas, hey, we can't mess it up any worse than you. That is so cheap.
So a lot of this is new. The thing about coming here over and over again is, you've got your honed material that you've perfected, and, the regulars who come here, I don't want to expose them to that over and over again, or else they're going to stop showing up. So do try and come up with some new stuff and work it out leading up to these shows. We also do a lot of conventions, and these are good tune-ups for those.
So I went to an anime convention. There was Anime Los Angeles. People familiar with that? And anime is getting weird for me. I don't like, well, first of all, there's this weird trend that goes on, a surprising trend, you know, there's all sorts of cosplay that goes on in anime, and there's a lot of like non-anime costumes that really hit it big at anime conventions, of like really pretty androgynous boy characters. Like everyone's dressing up as like Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians, or Loki, you know, from Thor and the Avengers, or Joe Starr. It's really... I hate them now. It's like no one cares about like the guest lists at American anime conventions are awful. They're just completely phoned in. They're like 10th rate voice actors who did the American versions of animation that was translated from Japan. And it's just like if you looked at the guest list of an anime convention in the US, you wouldn't have any idea that it's related to anything Japanese at all. But it's not like I'm saying that every anime convention has to have Go Nagai there or something, you know, a big, you know, guest flown in from Japan. And the people who love anime conventions now are saying that, oh no, this guest list is great. They just don't care. You go to an anime convention in the US, and it's difficult to describe, and I know I'm going a long way with this, but it's like everyone there is just about sort of embracing their passion and finding like-minded folks who agree with them. That's what the real sort of vibe is connect. Basically, anime conventions have turned into a gay cruise. And not a good gay cruise. It's not like being in the Mediterranean with Ricky Martin or something like that. This is a gay cruise of like Lake Michigan in October with George Takei. And no one cares.
We got regular comedians who are part of Comics and Comics. There's 7 of us, but we also like to bring in people that have never been here to Hypno before, and word gets around in LA. You know, we're mostly based in LA, and comics come up to me a lot or message me on Facebook and say, hey, when can I do a Comics and Comics show at Hypno Comics in Ventura?